sun is bright. I gotta stay behind the shade of this tree on this island or I get blinded. Found a decent angle where I could set the phone up and watch back this way and still kind of see the scenery. That way, at least the viewers can see, even if I can't. In the mornings. I guess I'll show you as soon as I get done getting dressed here. Show you a little thing. You know, most expert canoers have heard of a J-stroke or, you know, different ways of getting the most out of your paddling experience. But not a lot of people put a lot of thought into paddling in a little canoe with somebody else in front of you or other people in the vessel with you, other things in the vessel. Well, now being somebody who's done a lot of that, and like say you're in mucky waters and the person in front of you wearing a nice white dress, you know, just cleaner than they've been in a month. And you know, you want to get there, but you don't want to douse their back with salt water, or you don't want to coat your electronics or whatever thing you just bought that you're bringing from town or whatever. And you need to be able to row. And maybe you don't even want to get that stuff on your toes doing this number from one side to the other. But you don't want to get one of those, you know, kayak paddles, because it's just not ideal for a canoe for all kinds of reasons we won't get into. You end up with more water all over the floor. I mean, there's got to be a way around all that, right? So, let me show you. Like, here's that one method. Get it away from your toes. Keep your toes in. But, you know, what about when you want to kick your feet out and really stretch out a little bit? Straighten your legs, man. You know, you need to be able to not... You don't want to get your toes wet. And you don't want to get that stuff in front of you wet. Well, just do this. You know? A lot of people might not think of that, but, you know, there's a point behind you when you're in the back of the canoe. And you don't have to swing the paddle in front of you. Just swing it behind you. It's that damn simple. Now, if you're in something small enough, like a 15-footer, and I just have some stuff on the deck, I don't really like switching up my flow to go behind. You know, there's nobody in front of me. Now, you don't want to do this with a person in front of you, because it's more effort. It takes more effort to fling the water over their head and beyond them while you're moving forward than it does to just sling it behind you. But if it's just something right here, then it's worth it to fling the paddle when I switch sides. Just fling it, and it slings the water up in front of the canoe. It just doesn't work if there's somebody's head there, you know? But you don't hit the canoe, and you don't get that little dribbling of water in the floor that builds up over the course of the day and fills your canoe, gets your feet and all your shit wet, you know? Just a thought for those of you who want to decide whether you want canoe or kayak. There's big advantages and disadvantages to both. To me, canoeing is more like the family Cadillac of paddle vessels. Like, you're gonna carry the most gear, and wait and be able to, you know, get the most number of people and gear and materials or whatever you need around on paddle power with a canoe. It really just outdoes anything else out there. When it comes to utility, but when it comes to portability, there's a lot better. Or just day-to-day to and from, or maybe diving offshore, or going away from shore through surf or rough water. It's definitely not the number one choice. But go back to, say you're looking for speed. Yep, definitely the choice. You know, tandem canoe is definitely going to outrun any real portable kayak out there, just because of the fact that it's going to have a longer water line and two people propelling it. Even one person. I've been in a 17.5-foot canoe and bet money on this. Two-person tandem sit on top kayak couldn't keep up with me, and I was loaded with gear. So, you know, carrying vastly, like, at more than quadruple the weight. It's like, it's not really a factor so much when you're drafting the same amount, and I have double your water line, you know, almost double their water line. Well, okay, they're 12. I was more than double their water line. And that's really the biggest limiting factor when it comes to crunching numbers with a boat. The biggest limiting factor on your top speed with the propulsion you have is the length of the water line. In your hull class, so essentially, the less the draft, the longer the water line, the narrower that you can get, the faster you can go. With the same amount of propulsion. So yeah, the canoe's going to outrun all of them when it comes to getting there faster, but it won't outweather the kayak. Then again, are you really comparing? Because you gotta, if you want a real comparison, maybe you need to make a 17.5-foot kayak with a 17.5-foot canoe. And now, you know, they don't really make such a thing, but yeah, they do. They're made for racing, but they're still not going to carry the cargo that canoe is going to carry. So yeah, you'll beat it out with a long racing kayak. You're going to beat that canoe. I'm just saying, the point being, like, you're going to spend at least $300 to $500 on a 12-foot kayak, and you can get a canoe like this used all day long for a couple $100. It's no biggie. They're, you know, these used old beat-up canoes are $200 on Craigslist all day long in Florida. There's people, sometimes you find somebody who wants to give it away. Like, oh, do a work trade, you can have that damn thing. I got 3 of them in the yard, they're in the way, you know. That's some people you'll run into in that situation. Alright, so I'm here at the landing. Not where I'm going to tie off, but I am going to get rid of some garbage here. So, well, yeah, I need to secure the boat temporarily here. Throw some trash on the shore. Good morning, Susan and Ronnie. Pretty early today. go, as morning's my usual routine. It's a little different today. Trying to get some things done while it's still a little cooler. Here's a Spanish hitch. Keep the canoe from drifting away while I'm gone, but no knots. Just quick. I wouldn't leave and walk into town with that kind of hitch on there, but just go into the trash can. Now I would put 2 Spanish hitches with a post hitch on the end, one on each end of the canoe, and then walk into town. But I wouldn't trust the whole thing to just a basic Spanish hitch. It's just 3 loops. Joseph, good morning. I'm just going door. Oh, walking through some grass. Nothing interesting, really. The show is pretty much over at this point. If you don't know what I'm doing right now, you missed the opening scene. You took the university entrance exam. Wow, congratulations. What university? Oh. Just keep in mind when you go to the university that you don't let the academia get in the way of living. If you understand what I mean. As in, learn. And that's a huge opportunity to learn stuff you couldn't learn anywhere else. But don't forget, the point of life is to live and experience things before you die, not experience debt before you die. It's not all about accumulating as much debt as you can. So, you know, it's more about the whole overall experience. And you know, the more you know, the more you learn from your experiences. The more academia you have crammed into here, the more you gain from what you look at and see around you. So it's very valuable, but it's not a substitute for actual hands-on in any field. It's, you know, you're gonna learn a lot, and then you go into a field And you'll find out that there's people there been doing it with their hands but didn't study it, that are better at it than you. Don't get upset at how frustrated they are with you, and don't try to explain shit to them. Just learn what you can from them, and then add what you learned, and you'll be amazed at what you can do with that. When you apply the theory to the practical application, something magical happens. And then especially if you're the type of person to always question everything, then something even more magical happens called innovation. It's not only do you do the most amazing things, but you do them in a new way that no one ever thought of before. You know, like you don't have to discover any new laws of physics. You just apply the old ones to something no one thought of before. You know, and it's like pretty cool shit happens. That's what causes progress in the world. See, you got to take all the knowledge of all the old ones that have written it into books and all the theory that applies, and then you got to combine all the actual hands-on knowledge of the craftsman that it applies to, and then you apply a little personal innovation, and it changes the world. It completely revolutionizes an entire industry. And a bowline knot to make sure that it doesn't choke up against the tree. Because even if you're tying to an invasive tree, you know, I'm not in the business of harming trees. So I tie them with a loop that doesn't cinch up. Make sure that's not snagging anything. Because if your other lead over there snags on something, it throws it into the water. That's how you lose your gear, paddle, net. People end up dumping trash in the water when they don't mean to. As they say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, you know, kind of thing. It pays to be as attentive as you can. Okay. Let's go ahead and secure this guy here on a dead limb. I like to leave enough slack to be able to reach the knot from my boat without necessarily standing up, because sometimes I got my hands full climbing in and out. Okay, now those are my lines to secure this fucker out of the channel, out of the way of other boaters. And this is my line to retrieve the son of a bitch. Okay, here we have a potential situation. Let me show you up in front of me. Oh, okay. You don't want your canoe. See how it's low tide? The water's down lower than sometimes. It's kind of like not really low, but not exactly high either. If your canoe is back here between this branch and this sloping tendril here, and you get up in a spot like this with the tip of the canoe, like so, where it's not swinging out, and then you have incoming tide lifts it up until your canoe hits this branch. What you get is your canoe tipping, flipping, taking water. So I want to get out here. It matters which side of the boat you put your line on. Idea is that the line stays between, helps keep it out of there, but I want to start with the nose over there at least, and this doesn't guarantee it won't go over there later, shifting tides and all, but you know, you're better off positioning it like that outside of it. You don't, as the tide comes in here, it'll push the canoe out further, and those root tendrils kind of act like springs, keeping it from hitting the shore. The whistle, that's because I'm in a canoe. It's Florida law, and it's also a good sensible thing when you're on the water. You don't have a horn, but if another boat comes flying through real fast, you can alert them to your presence before they hit you. You know, it's kind of like you can give audible signals and such. But it's also legally required by law if you're gonna be in a on any vessel in the Florida waterways. You're supposed to have sound producing device. I think it's like can produce sound steady over 35 decibels or something, and like, yeah, you have to, if you're in a boat, you're usually going to have some kind of ship to shore boat, a ship's tender, dinghy type, whatever you call it, you know, and that don't usually have a horn. So they have a whistle usually tied somewhere to the dinghy, so it's always there. I just keep it around my neck so that if I get out of this boat into another boat, I always have it. And you know, if you're on your regular boat and you're thinking, I don't need that because it's got a horn, think about this. You're on a boat and in water, and that's great that you have an electric horn, and it's pretty dependable, you know, but you never know when something's gonna fail, especially in water environment on a boat, and it's electrical. You don't depend on that for your life or to prevent a ticket. You know, it's great for day-to-day use, but have a backup that always works. As long as you're breathing and able to breathe, you can blow a whistle, you know. Um, Other thing, people use air horns, and that's great. They're much louder. You can really get someone's attention, you know. Um, but that can of air, you know, what about, how do you know how many squirts you got before you run out of air? How many of you, you know, is there a meter on there that tells you? Or do you just run out when you run out and say, ooh, get another one? Or, you know, when it's something about to happen right now, it's not a good time to run out of air in your horn, you know. So that's not dependable. They got one that's like an air horn with a air pump on it, and and it's really loud. And I really recommend that for a canoe because you got room for that kind of gear. And you could actually strap it here next to you, where you just grab the handle and push down, and it's just really loud, you know. And you can do your signals. There's enough air in that one compression to do different signals, you know. So it's a, I mean, and it's pretty dependable. Like, you're not worried about electricity making it fail, you know. But I just keep a whistle around my neck. It's simple enough. Oh shoot, I can't do that. I gotta figure how to get this stuff to shore. All right, I gotta kill the feed so I can go to shore. I think maybe I can do this. Hold on. Hold the phone. Let's see, this is some crazy monkey stuff here. I don't know how smart it is to do this one-handed with a phone in one hand, but I need to get rid of that plank too. This thing is just more weight than I'll ever use. Here, standing on the point of the canoe, you know what they tell you never to do. And then, you ever see something like that? Oops, sorry. You ever see something like that? It's a darker color than the other branches around. It's right by the tide line. Believe me, that is slicker than owl poop. Do not trust your balance on it. It's worse than black ice. Oop. These kind of things, don't trust your weight on them. They flex and bend. This kind of thing, don't trust it not to shift under you. Always have 3 points of contact. I'm using 2 and some extra ninja skills. Oh. Ooh, and now I can use this to help stand back up because my back's killing me after that. Yeah. Whew. I'm too old for this shit. Okay. See how often you ask a question, and if you just watch for a second, it gets answered? No trash. On the ground? What are you talking about, no trash? There's trash bins here. There's no trash here because it's a maintained park. People tend to just put the trash in the trash bin. There's 4 of them in this one pavilion. I could hear the osprey over there. Oh, I need some spinal decompression therapy. Yes, the extra fans kept it a lot cooler until I broke one of them. And I broke the bigger of the two yesterday. I accidentally was reaching up on the counter and I had it laying on one of the cooling fins and touched my finger and one of the blades broke off of it. And now it's all off balance. Now it's not a fan, it's a vibrator. And so I hooked up the other one to a cooling fin and ducted it so that it would blow through the fins and back at me, and that stays a little bit cooler, but not much. I really need to. It's cool though, because I got it set up to just hook the Peltier unit to it. I made the duct and the little fan cover. Can make a little filter for it too. Maybe I get a little piece of HEPA and cut a filter for the fan. Be kind of cool. I hook that up. Now I have basically the whole entire cold side of a Peltier cooler built, and now I got to build the hot side and get the foam board for the piece in between and silicone sealant. Should have, like I said, I should have the thermal paste today, and then I'll order water blocks and water pumps for the cooling. What do you call it? Geothermal, but it's not really aquathermal cooling. Is that what you call it? Hydrothermal cooling. That's what it is, not geothermal. All right, folks. I shall see y'all next time. Have a good one.